I look like a hot mess again. I've been crying, I think this is day 5. Um, this has kind of been, unfortunately, in my life for the past 5 years. Imagine just never being able to go back home. Never, ever even getting a reason why. And I want to address Nancy Burgess Hawley again. Um, I looked at her Facebook and she's got like 5 pictures of her, the same 5 pictures of her face. I like, it's like narcissist much. So I want to reiterate and sort of get down to the nitty gritty of what exactly did Nancy. Okay, so I've only heard from this lady twice in my life. 2 times, that's it. The first was in 2015 when I put the picture of my boss up in Singapore and she said, "We know what you're up to. Do you remember Nick?" Fast forward, it didn't register to me what she was trying to get at there because I don't know what she had with Nick. Okay, so who was Nick Fortenberry? Apparently, Charlene Stephenson and this Nancy Burgess Hawley lady were lesbian lovers of this one guy. My granddad told me they were in a menage a trois, like they lived with this guy. So I don't know what she was getting at when she saw my Facebook picture with my boss and she said, "Do you remember Nick?" I'm like, so then I hadn't put 2 and 2 together what she was trying to get at. I still thought she was a nice lady or someone I could talk to. And I'm like, I texted her and I'm like, "Hey, Nancy, what is going on with my mom? What is going on with the whole family dynamic?" And this was in 2018. So 3 years later, she texted me, "I'm sorry you've been disowned and disinherited. May it happen to me and may you find peace in your heart." And then she blocked me on Facebook. So I found out I got disowned and disinherited from Nancy Burgess Hawley on Facebook. And I became very suicidal. I was like, oh my God, this is a lady I always kind of looked up to and thought was so pretty, and here she is. And then so my question is, and I did some research on her. She works at Banco Bilbao Vizcaya, which is a Basque bank. And I'm wondering what access to what she has. Like, that's neither here or there, but like, how disgusting of a human being. She's pretending to be this God-loving, nice, kind person, but yet 2 messages are. So she started stirring the pot with me. Like, she was looking. I think she's a horrible person. I really do. I think she's disgusting. So my question is, why did Nancy Burgess Hawley get disinherited and disowned? Oh, and I did some research, and she's not even mentioned her dad's obituary. So she actually did get disowned and disinherited. So she was wanting this to happen to me. She took pleasure in it. She was trying to pick points out. I just can't believe how disgusting. And she just, ugh, gross. Ugh. So yeah. And then her best friend is my aunt who got everything signed over for my mom's money, who's the pedophile. So this lady is okay with pedophilia. I mean, like, just real sick people. So why exactly did Nancy Burgess Hawley get disowned and disinherited? On top of it, she lied to my mom and said that she never texted me any of what I'm talking about. Apparently I'm crazy. And that I just made it up. If I just made this up, how do I know that she got disowned and disinherited? How? There'd be no way. She told me point blank. And then she's like, "Oh, can you find peace in your heart?" And also, my question, was she a prostitute? Like, I don't think she was a prostitute, but I know she was a sex swinger with Nick and Charlene. I know they were in a lesbian relationship with this man. But why would she point out the picture of me and my boss and say, "We know what you're up to. Do you remember Nick?" So Nick was the man that these women were in the lesbian relationship with. And so when she sent me that message, I'm like, I haven't heard from this lady ever in my life. The last time I saw her was like in 1992. No, 1988. Oh my God, that's a long time ago. Yeah, when So never hear from a lady, and then my mom inherits the money, and then she texts me and says she knows what I'm up to, and then 3 years later she says, oh, I'm sorry you got disowned and disinherited. It happened to me. May you find peace in your heart, and blocked me. Okay, even if I couldn't do that to someone, like, even if I found out someone had been disowned and disinherited based on rumors or lies or anything, I would at least have kindness and talk to the person. I would be like, it was more, her text was more like, ha ha ha, it's happened to you now, just like me. So I really want to get down to find out why she got disowned and disinherited. That part, yeah. She's so disgusting. She actually has the audacity to tell my mom I invented this and made it up. And speaking of that, my sister has mental health issues. Of course, I have depression right now. I'm not gonna lie. I'm severely depressed. Imagine just never being able to go home for Christmas or anything. Yeah, it's like, yeah. So, what was I getting at? Oh, mental. So my sister is mentally ill, and she's on like so much medication. Actually, my mother never got her a second opinion, and I'll get on more a little bit to that. My sister takes like 10 different medications. So, apparently she did a lot of LSD when she was 15, 16, and her brain got messed up by it. But I've never done drugs in my life, ever. Like, I'm terrified. Oh, speaking of hypocrisy, my mother, I have so many memories of my mom doing cocaine with her lesbian lover. Okay. Yeah. So, I became the focus of attention from Nancy, Burgess, Charlene. Everyone wanted me out of the picture. It's obvious it's for money, and for Nancy wanted to see someone suffer like her. She's disgusting. So all these people like saying, oh, you're beautiful on the inside and out, and she pretends to be a religious or spiritual person. You're not. This person, she's just filth. And so is my aunt, Charlene. My aunt, Charlene, is the one that's a pedophile. Even my own grandmother married her cousin. And somehow I became the target of being disowned and disinherited. I became the scapegoat, the family scapegoat. And I never went home. Like, I never even got a chance. They did it over social media. Imagine finding out you're disowned and disinherited by a second party that's not even a family member. And this woman has also been disowned and disinherited and wants you to find peace in your heart, and then blocked you. We're talking really sick people. So anyone out there that knows Nancy Burgess Hawley and Charlene Stephenson, my pedophile aunt, they used to be sex swingers with this man, Nick. I don't know if there was more to it, because when I put my picture of my boss up and myself, why would Nancy say, we know what you're up to? Do you remember Nick? So I'm wondering what more went on there with them. I do remember my granddad telling me that they were both having sex with him. They were both living with him in the same one-bedroom apartment, in the same bed. So, ugh. And then I also wish that, like, my family wasn't so horrible. I wish I had a family. Yeah, my aunt married the 21-year-old. He's now 35, and my mom's leaving everything to them. Oh, and then my grandmother, that's another sick thing. I went down there to go help my mom, and instead my grandmother was like in this fighting competition with me about who was taking care of her. That's what I got from my own grandmother, and I'm like, and now I realize my grandmother has power of attorney, so my grandmother wanted her money. And another thing is my mother is a borderline Alzheimer's and dementia, so she was so easily manipulated by these people, and they know it too. They know. My grandmother worked as a psych nurse with at MUSC, Medical University of South Carolina. My grandmother, who married her cousin, she knew my mom was pretty easily manipulated, and also she had to have known. I brought my grandma and my uncle Charlie and my mom over to Spain when my son was born. My granddad, her cousin, couldn't stand to be 2 minutes without her. So she left early. She only stayed in Spain for like 3 days. So she knew what separation disorder and anxiety from family to family. They purposely, and then when I got back home, she kept saying that, oh yeah, the whole like Dan, and they were all calling my grandmother saying, don't give her any money, don't give her any money. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm hearing this. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to take a deep breath. For those of you out there that have a nice family, you're so lucky. You're just so lucky. I think there's a misogynistic, a very extreme misogyny. Like, they wanted to see me fail. They took pleasure in watching it, and I'm not gonna lie, it affected my mental health a lot. I haven't, and to get disowned and disinherited out of the blue, like nothing over Facebook pictures. Because some Nancy Burgess Hawley thinks you're being a prostitute in Australia because her husband's in the Navy. Oh, her husband was unemployed at that time. Is 20 years younger than her. And then my aunt married the other Navy guy who is 30 years younger than her. They actually got married at a Star Wars convention. Anyway, it's just really difficult. No, I'm not the only one going through it, but if you look at the bodies being, that was one of the hardest parts for me. When I would go to the hospital if something happened to me, they said, do you have any next of kin? I'd have to say no. Do you have any emergency contact? I'd have to say no, I don't have any. Nancy Burgess apparently said I'm disowned and disinherited. I don't have any contact. I have nobody. So that fear of dying alone and your body's just going to be dumped somewhere. Like, was I that bad of a person? My family wants to do that to me? Obviously, yeah, and that's the worst feeling in the world. So anyone who thinks Nancy Burgess Hawley is beautiful on the inside and outside, she's not. And why don't you ask her? Because I would like to know myself. I would like to know why she got disowned and disinherited. She said it happened. That's another thing. It's one thing. It doesn't make it any better. But when you're older, I was a single mother my whole life, raising my child. And I didn't want to make the mistake. His father was extremely abusive, not only towards me, but especially to him. I never wanted to make the mistake of marrying a man and having, because I have bad judgment sometimes in people I bring in my life. So I was like, I can't make a mistake and bring a man in my son's life. And so when I hit the age of 40, I'm like, woohoo, I can go and do me now. My son is 18, whatever. He's been through a lot, but you know what? I did my job, paid my time. I was a single mom, never dated, never had sex with anyone. Like, I did my thing. And I was like, and then I get pushed with, oh, you're being disowned and disinherited. You've got no family left. I'm like, crap. My life, right? And if I had known this was going to happen to me, I wish I had known this was going to happen to me, I would have gotten married. Oh yeah, I would have definitely made sure. But Nancy got that opportunity. She got disowned and disinherited when she was in her 20s. She got married and had family and support, but it happened to me like late in life. It's a little bit different and more difficult to bounce back up from something like that when you're older. Okay, gotta go.